I'm Claudia Randall. I'm the Executive Director of the Obesity Medicine Association in Denver, Colorado, which is a national organization that focuses on primary care physicians as well as anybody in the obesity medicine space, nurse practitioners, and physician assistants. And we predominantly provide education and advocacy for our membership base. In addition, I oversee the marketing and sales team, as well as our education team, operations team, the strategic direction of the organization, and pretty much everything in between. What I love is it's a smaller organization, even though it's a national organization, and where I have a really strong marketing background. This is pretty much the only role I've ever had that was non-marketing. And what I really like is the opportunity to bring together what marketing and sales so often can't do in a larger organization with the production and the business development of the organization. And that gives me a unique position to be in that I didn't have the opportunity to do in previous position. And in addition, I really like our membership. I love the mission of the organization. I really like where it's going, how many people it's helping, and I really love what I do. I like going to work every day, and I think it shows. I think our staff is accomplishing a lot. Our membership is growing rapidly, and so we're serving a purpose. And so it's besides just bringing the dollars. It's you really accomplishing something apart from that, and that, it makes you feel good. Because of our size, sales and marketing, as well as product development, has a really unique opportunity to work together very differently than you might have in a larger organization. We don't have the barrier of silos. I make it a huge priority to bring marketing and sales as well as product development and the education teams and operations together on a weekly basis. We literally look at everything in a team environment. We look at, do we need to develop this new product or service? What does the market really need? Is there something else out there? What is the competition doing? Should we be wasting our time on something that is already out there and spending money on something that might be a great idea versus is it really needed in the market? And that is often not the case in a larger organization. What I have found in the past is you have somebody in the product development team or on the board of directors or in senior leadership come up with some idea, and they're like, oh, wouldn't it be great if we would have product X? Marketing, go help develop it, make it happen, and sell ice to the Eskimos. And you can't do it. So in this particular role, for the first time in my career, I had the opportunity to really bring everybody together, bring every single department together, and to analyze what is it that we should be doing. What does the market really want? What do our customers really want? And it's really great because it changes the landscape. Being connected with one another in every department on a much more organic level from start to finish in the product development and sales cycle really allows the staff to work together very differently than they do in other organizations. And we have so far been very lucky. That has completely changed the landscape for our sales and marketing and made it a lot easier for them to communicate with the targets and with the audience that they're trying to reach. So that's what we did, and it's working, and it's very exciting. The vibe we're trying to create within our teams is really that we're all in this together. We're all rowing in the same direction, and we all have certain needs from a departmental perspective that we need to get filled in order to do our job really well. But there is, I really am not a huge fan of this is not my job, this is somebody else's job, because it doesn't work. It creates gaps, and that you usually can't fill no matter how many people you hire. If you're developing a culture where people really care about the end product and they get why they should care and how they're connected to it, they work very differently. They actually get engaged in the success of the organization in a different way than you might be when you don't really know what your role really contributes apart from where you sit in your department. And that's a really hard culture to create. But when you do it right from the bottom up, I think that creates real engagement and excitement about what you're doing every day, and it just shows within your products and services and how your customers feel about your organization, because they see it every time they interact with anybody in the organization. So that's the kind of marketing and sales team, as well as really team overall, I'm trying to foster. And so far we've been very lucky. We have really engaged people that love that aspect of our organization, and it really pays off in the end. The most persistent challenge we're finding on our marketing and sales teams nowadays is there are a lot of specialists out there. You used to have a lot of marketing generalists that knew a little bit of everything, whether or not it was email blasts to website to print, they could do it all. When you're hiring nowadays, you're finding a lot of people who are very much focused on one aspect of the marketing spectrum. And that one aspect oftentimes doesn't give them really the understanding of how they fit in to the entire scope. So they create silos within the department, and they don't really understand why they're doing anything. They're just executing it because they're so highly technically specialized. And it really makes your communication and addressing the customer oftentimes difficult, because you're re-explaining of what you're trying to do over and over and over within the department, because people just don't understand until they've been there for a while. So finding a good marketing generalist and then figuring out what do you outsource to a specialist and how can they fit into the overarching picture that you're trying to paint, into the team that you're trying to assemble for marketing and sales, is really difficult. Not to mention your typical budget challenges that everybody has, and you have your communications challenges in terms of are you reaching the right audience at the right time with the right message. I mean, all those traditional problems still apply. We're not immune to that, but I'm finding that staff is becoming more and more challenging in terms of integrating them into a broader picture. Marketing impacts the organization, I think, in a significant way, from anywhere from short to long term. If you develop a product or service and nobody knows about it, you might as well not waste your time, right? So without marketing, sales, and a good PR team, it doesn't really matter what your organization does. Consumers just won't know about it. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in. And it is not just knowing about it, it's knowing about it at the right time with the right message. And make it relevant, solve a problem for them. What is the problem you're solving for them, and what is your solution? And getting marketing and sales to get those communications out in the right channel at the right time is incredibly difficult. It is a very difficult job. I don't think people realize the people that are good at marketing, they're good at just about everything else in the organization. They have to understand the product inside and out. They have to get the customer, the industry, the pricing, the graphical translation of the message that they're trying to do. These people oftentimes are highly skilled. You can pluck them into anywhere in the organization apart from maybe, programming or something like that, even though nowadays most of them have incredible technical skills. They do data analysis. They look at anything and everything that they can figure and that they can find to sell the product or the service and communicate it to the customer. So they probably know more about your organization than anybody else in any other department does. And when they're really good at it, they could probably ultimately tell you what everybody else is doing too. So really having the other departments understand how integrated sales and marketing really is into your organization, and how critical for the success of the organization a good marketer really is oftentimes overlooked unless you've worked in the field. And I am in a very unique position being the executive director now that I have decades of marketing experience, and I understand the power the marketing team can bring to the table in terms of catapulting your organization forward if you let them do their job and you let them do their job well. So they're very much a big part of our organization. The long-term goals I'm working on with the marketing team right now is integrating marketing automation, and it's been a little bit of a journey figuring out what automation system is right for our organization. I mean, there's anything from your basic email blast system to the Cadillacs of marketing automation, which is way overkill for the size of our organization. It may have all the bells and whistles, but we probably wouldn't be using 90% of them. And then how do you effectively integrate that into your current communication stream, and where it enhances it and doesn't become a roadblock or an additional amount of, just tasks that somebody has to execute that they really wouldn't normally execute and would do just as well. So where is that sweet spot to integrate marketing automation? And we've been demoing, I can't even count how many systems, and I think we've nailed it down to the right system for us. And now it's how do we effectively integrate it, in what timeline, and what do we do with it once we have it in place. So the automation component, as well as the customer experience that goes along with it, how do we integrate that into our website? How do we really use the data that comes out of that and pair it with our online data and our purchasing data and our demographics data to make it effective? So that's a little bit of a challenge anytime you bring an automation system in place, because you have to teach staff that hasn't worked with it before on how to work it, but also what do you do with it? How do you analyze it effectively so it actually brings the ROI to the table that you're looking for? So that's our long-term goal. Short-term goal is, just making sure that everybody has enough time to really execute their tasks well. And oftentimes in marketing and sales, depending on what happens within the rest of the organization, you always feel a little bit behind the 8 ball. And allowing your team to have enough time to think before they execute, that's an ongoing challenge we're addressing constantly.